Happy Monday. Hope everybody got a good opportunity to get some good food and hang out with family just on GP. Or if you celebrate the holidays, then I hope you enjoyed this last weekend. I took a couple weeks off because I wanted to. That's my new thing. That's my new jam. I am really going to start honoring what I feel more. And just trust that everything's going to work itself out around that. So much of my life, I've orchestrated what I wanted to do around what best practices are, or what I think people will. Yeah, we're not doing that anymore. So I had my girlfriends over this weekend. Huge shout out to Kiana Jackson. I'm sorry, girl. Kiana Jackson and Kathy McCoy, who hung out with me this weekend. We got to get our podcast together. We got to do another one. But anyway, and it's so interesting how we have so many superstitions about what it takes to have everything we want, right? And we're in this loop about, well, where did that start? Like, I have all these ideas and these thoughts. I have resources. I have all these things in front of me. And, what's in the way of me doing all the things that I said I wanted to do? So we started like fixating on where I get tripped up. What happens when I, say I want this thing, but then I do something different or whatever the case may be. Anything that gets in the way. And one of the things that, I shared was, why do we have to know? Why does that matter? Why do we have to go back to the origin story? Why do we have to figure out, what happens in my body when I do X, Y, and Z, and why I block myself from doing this or not manifesting this, or take actions that are more safe this way or that, And I was like, what if that doesn't matter? Now, the thought is, well, if you're doomed to repeat it if you don't understand the wiring behind it, right? But I could argue, if anybody has a few extra pounds they want to lose, we all know how to lose weight. Knowing doesn't really make that much of a difference. Knowing your origin story, knowing, I could argue that there's a lot of stuff that we know that doesn't make a difference in repeating the habit of it, right? So then the discussion became, well, what if we could just choose? So we kind of went back to Joe Dispenza, who talks about this idea that there are multiple timelines happening at one point. There's multiple realities and versions of yourself happening at one point. So he's a scientist guy, and, lots of science around that. But what if we're stuck in this timeline and this reality because we just keep choosing the same beliefs, the familiarity based on habits and patterns? We keep this timeline alive. What if we decided, I just don't want this timeline anymore, I'm going to jump into another timeline, right? And a more not so scientific-y woo-woo way to think about it is, what if I could just choose? What if I could just choose to, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. Oh, no, that's that old way of thinking. I'm not doing that anymore. And so that's kind of the trajectory that I've been on recently. And that's operating in choice and not in habits and patterns. Because the habits and patterns all wire up the same emotional state, and the emotional state creates that same story, and then the story creates the same actions, and then the actions create the same results. So what if we pull up the root and plant a new seed and just start telling a different story? I don't do that anymore. I remember when I stopped drinking, I did the Alan Carr easy way. I talk to people all the time about it, not all the time, but I talk to people a lot about it because people just don't believe that it's just that simple. You read the book, or you listen to, in my case, you listen to the audio, and you're just done. That's how it happened. I learned about it on, what's his name? Ashton Kutcher was on one of the Jimmys. And he talked about, I just stopped smoking. I used this easy way by Alan Carr. It was amazing. And I was like, no way. And I did it to stop drinking, and I'm done. You're just done after listening to this audio. Do with it what you will. But my point is that he said, now what's going to happen is you're going to start, something's going to happen. And you're going to, when you would instinctively reach for a drink, you have to say, oh, yeah, that's right. I don't drink anymore. I'm a non-drinker. I don't drink anymore. Oh, that's right. Oh, that's just that thing coming up. That's the wiring. But the minute I said that, the reminder kicked me in like, oh, yeah, that's right. You don't do that. I went through a whole divorce without drinking. I went through, all of this moving and changing and business and losing clients, all that without drink, right? Where that would be my, oh, I need a drink, girl. I need to give me a drink. So you can just choose. You can just choose it. And I'm just inviting us to let go of the superstition, which is kind of what it is, that if I don't get to the root of exactly why I do what I do, then I will never overcome it. That's just kind of a belief that we've adopted that doesn't have to be true. You don't have to go to the source. You don't have to go back to the origin story. You don't have to, oh, here I go again and beat myself up. You can say, that's right, I don't do that anymore. And so for someone like me, who I drank for years, I mean, that was my thing, a bottle of wine. I would say, oh, let me have a glass. Yeah, a bottle of wine at night. For me, just to read a book or listen to a book and be done with it, because I understood the choice that I had and whether or not I wanted to get up in the morning and feel like shit. And I just said, I don't want that anymore, right? So I'm just inviting everyone just to start allowing in those things that we have told ourselves that we can't have because we're just going to repeat it. Every time I get up, I go down again. Every time I start my business, I get nervous and walk away from it. That's my wiring. But that's just, wiring is a pattern. Even when you call it wiring, it tells you, like a house, if it's you got to rewire it. Like a computer, you got to install a new program. Right? So yeah, that's my thought for this Monday, that it does not change, significant change, permanent change, and change towards things that are like out of your realm that you could conceive is all possible. I mean, I keep saying this, we're still in this proceeding. It's not quite done yet, but there's been so many things where I'm like, oh, come on. You're just handing this to me. God is just like, oh, the seas are parting and all these things are happening because I've decided what I've decided about how I'm going to experience myself, who I am, what I can manifest, even when the state or the laws say this. There's all kinds of things that can happen when I tap into my own, divine, I won't say magic, but I'll say resources. And the same is for everybody. We all have access to it. So if you've been looking for a job and it's not coming, yeah, reprogram. Jobs come to me. Like, that's the reality I'm living in now. Jobs just come to me, period. So I know I'm oversimplifying, but that's what we do as humans. We can both overcomplicate and oversimplify something. I know we do it all the time, but for me, this has been, I've learned a lot about what it means to be a force in partnership with all of this divine energy that's sitting here waiting for us to use it to create something magical, to create something not just for ourselves, but that lift up others as well. So happy Monday. Enjoy your week and go create something, and don't hold on to jump into another timeline, jump into another reality. Don't mess with this one if it's not being what you want it to be. All right.